Oh, now that is lovely, isn't it? Lovely opal in the center there. Just exquisite. Yes, you are quite powerful, aren't you? Lovely, lovely, lovely. There we are. Oh, hello. Welcome. Please come in. Welcome to Dazzle and Shine, my enchanted ring shop. My name is Nim. How may I help you today? Oh, well, that's quite exciting, isn't it? May I see this voucher? Thank you. Yes, I do remember writing this. This is a voucher good for one enchanted ring of your choice. Very exciting. You know, I don't make vouchers like this very often, so I tend to remember when I do. This particular voucher was purchased by a noble elf not too long ago, and I do believe that he purchased it to serve as a reward for a quest from the Guild of Heroes. Is that right? Wow, exciting. So you must be a hero with the guild then. Wonderful. Wow. It's not every day that I have such a brave hero in my shop. Now, if you don't mind me asking, what exactly was the nature of the quest that you needed to complete in order to receive that voucher as a reward? Oh my. Oh, well, that sounds quite dangerous. Well, I'm glad that you survived and were successful, apparently. I mean, if you got the voucher. Wow. Well, it is certainly my honor to serve you today. You may have your choice of any of the enchanted rings that I have here in my shop today. Now, did you have any particular ideas of what you might be looking for in an enchanted ring? Oh, well, enchanted rings can do all sorts of things. Some rings protect you from some things. Some rings enhance some things. And some rings give you some things. So it really, I guess it depends on what you might be looking for. You're not sure? That's all right. Why don't I show you some of the rings that I have here today, and then you can tell me which one of these sounds like something that might be the most useful or the most special to you, all right? Okay, wonderful. I'll be interested to know which ring you choose. You see, all of these rings do something rather specific. With an enchanted ring, it's not necessarily just you're protected from, everything or every kind of damage, because those types of spells, while the effect may be more spread out, it is usually less powerful. So generally, as a rule of thumb, when you're enchanting jewelry, it's best to pick one specific thing and focus on that, and then the ring will be the most powerful that it can be. So, each of these rings are going to be very specific, and some of them might not sound very useful to you, and that's perfectly fine. Often, an elf will choose a ring that either enhances one of their strengths, or perhaps protects them, or sort of compensates for something that might be a weakness of theirs. And then sometimes an elf will choose a ring just because they like it. No judgment here. You are welcome to choose any of the rings, all right? That voucher is good for one of anything. Now, of course, you're welcome to purchase more than that, although they are rather expensive. But the voucher will get you any one that you would like, all right? Okay, let's see. Let's get started. What shall we start with? Let's start with this one, perhaps. Now, this is a ring that could be very useful for an adventurer such as yourself. This ring, you can see it's got those sort of interlocking chains on it. This is called the Ring of Unbinding. And using this ring, you will be able to, once per day usually, be able to escape any sort of bondage that you might be in. So if you step into an enemy's trap, or if you're being tied up, or perhaps being held in a cage, this will help you escape from that binding. It will also enhance your ability to trap or capture an enemy. It gives you sort of an advantage against them. So this could be quite an interesting choice for an adventurer like you. Now, this ring is not incredibly uncommon, although none of these rings that I'm going to show you are particularly common. They're all very special in their own way, but I do have some other ones that are perhaps a bit more unique. But this would be a very, very practical one. Just something to consider, of course. Now, let's see, what else? Now this is another one that might be very, very intriguing for you, particularly. This ring, you can see it's almost got a little bit of an eyeball to it. The shape of it there with the diamonds and a very small moonstone in the center. This one is known as the Ring of Evasion. So this ring enhances your dexterity and your agility in battle. So it will help you avoid attacks or not be hit by an enemy, of course. So that could certainly be very useful as well, especially if you're, fighting other elves or any other opponent that would be particularly quick on their feet. This could definitely help sort of even the playing field, as they say. So that might be another one that you may want to consider. Or this might be one that you may want to consider. This is called the Ring of Desperate Respite. Now, it may look like it's broken. It's actually supposed to look like that. Because what this ring does is it will protect you from damage after you have already taken damage in a battle. This will activate a spell called Stone Skin, which will render you impervious to quite a few different sort of blunt or melee attacks. Now, not everything, but it will greatly decrease the amount of damage that you will take in a battle. And it activates after, like I said, you have already taken some damage in battle. So that could be a very useful sort of defensive ring, if you wanted that. Now, I also have quite a few different rings that have to do with magical abilities, either enhancing certain abilities or shielding you from certain magical attacks, like this one. I just got this one in, actually. It's quite exciting. This is a ring of clairvoyance. You can see it has that beautiful luminescent opal stone in the center there, with many different diamonds and a lovely design around it. Now this ring, when you are wearing it, it will shield you from illusionary magic. So if anyone tries to show you an illusion, an object or a scene that isn't really there, or if they try to change their own appearance or something like that, like a disguise, you will not be fooled by it. You will be able to see through it. Now, of course, if they have a physical disguise or something like that, then you won't be able. This won't necessarily affect that. But if they use a spell to try to disguise or change their appearance, like a glamour spell or something like that, this ring will help you see through it. Quite a useful ring. In the right circumstance, of course. Many of these rings, you may not have need to use them all that often, but if you do need them, they would be very, very useful. Again, it just sort of depends on what situations you think you might find yourself in. Oh yes, this one is a bit bigger. Oh, I didn't mention that, did I? See, since these are all enchanted rings, you don't need to worry about the size of the rings. They will all change their size to fit you. So whichever finger that you slip the ring on, it will change to fit comfortably but snugly, so that it won't fall off or anything like that. But it won't be too tight either. So don't you worry about that when we're talking of rings. Any of these rings can be any size that you need them to be. Let's see what else I have for you. Now here's another ring that enhances magical ability. Now, this ring, it's quite a unique design. It's one of my more unusual looking rings, I think. It's quite striking. Sometimes even just possessing an enchanted ring, a ring of power per se, can lend you quite a bit of credibility with the right crowds. This one would certainly make a statement. You see, it's got two different beautiful amethyst stones there on either side of almost a sort of snake-like tube, and then lots of different smaller turquoise gems around it. Really very fascinating. Fascinating design for a ring. And this one is called Eyes of the Deep One. Now, when you wear this ring, it will grant the wearer dark vision, meaning that you can see in the dark. Any darkness that, might obviously hinder your sight, this will render that not an issue anymore. In fact, this even permeates through magical darkness. Obviously we elves can see rather well in the dark anyway, but there are certain spells that people can do that create a darkness that even our eyes can't see through. But this ring would allow you to see through even the inkiest blackness. And this ring also, it belonged to a very, very powerful enchanter. Rumor has it. You see, some of these rings become more powerful because of their history. And this one, it's said that it also will help increase any sort of magical spells that have to do with the necrotic arts. Now, I know that those are not incredibly common, at least not here in Namasera, but it is a very, very powerful branch of magic. And that enchanter that owned this ring was very well gifted in the art of necromancy. So it is rumored that wearing this ring will also increase your ability to perform the art of necromancy. Not that I would be able to confirm or deny that, but that is the lore of this ring. So that might be an option that is interesting to you as well. Now this is one that could be very, very useful for an adventurer such as yourself as well. This beautiful ring here. First of all, it's just absolutely lovely, isn't it? the filigree on the side here with all of the smaller gems, and then that one very large enchanting gem in the center. But this ring is called the Ring of Magic Absorption. Now, when we cast a magical spell, we use up magical energy, and we also put energy out into the world. So what this ring does is it collects up all of the just little residual energy that any spell creates, and it will store it inside of the ring. Now, the longer that you go before you actually activate the ring, the more that it will be able to store. But when you activate the ring, that means that it will make your next magical attack that much more powerful. It will lend the power of all of those little residual bits of energy that it has collected to your next attack. So that could be quite useful as well. Especially if you don't fight all that often, but you use magic, just for more practical things as well. This will collect residual magic every time that you do a spell, and can be unleashed when you really need that little extra oomph of power. So that could be a very interesting one for you as well, perhaps. For anyone, really, any sort of magic user, that could be very useful. And it is, of course, just so incredibly lovely, just as it is. Now, are you a druid by chance? Okay, but you sort of dabble in nature magic. Excellent, excellent. Then perhaps I could interest you in this one. This little ring here, it's got a lovely little branch design to it. It's all one piece, but it sort of curves around. Quite dainty and quite lovely. Perhaps a little more unassuming, but this one is very special and very powerful for those who primarily use nature magic. For this is called the Ring of Druidic Power, and it will increase the power of your nature magic. And it also will allow you to converse with animals. You may not be able to fully communicate with words like you and I use, but you'll be able to sort of read the emotions, the feelings, the sort of fragmented thoughts of animals. And that, that certainly can be helpful, especially for someone that likes to help poor animals in need. This could be a lovely little ring. Maybe not quite as powerful in different ways if you're not a nature magic user per se, but still a very, very interesting little ring there. Now, of course, any of these rings, once it's in your possession, you're also welcome to trade it with someone that, might have need of it as well. You never know when you may be on a quest and may, need a little bit of a bargaining chip as well. So, of course, once it's in your possession, it doesn't matter to me what you do with it. So, you never know. Let's see, what else do I have here? Ah, this one. This one is a little bit related, just sort of, but a little bit more specific. Like I said, the more specific the rings are, the more powerful they are. Sometimes when it's more broad, like being able to communicate with any animals, then you're going to mostly get things like fragmented thoughts and emotions. But this one gets you a little more honed in. This ring is called the Tongue of Snakes, and it will allow you to speak to snakes. Now, this one you will be able to fully speak to them and understand them. They may not actually physically speak, but they will be able to speak in full sentences in your mind telepathically. Quite useful, quite interesting. It's amazing how much snakes pick up on. They're quite a clever animal. Some people view them as quite evil and conniving, which is quite sad. They really are a very, very fascinating animal. Now, that being said, just because you can speak to a snake does not mean that that snake is obligated to help you. Just like anything, you can't necessarily just expect that everything they say might be true. But you will be able to fully understand whatever it is that they are telling you. So that could be quite an interesting idea as well as a ring for you. Let's see. Now this is another ring that could be very useful to an adventurer like you who finds themselves in dangerous situations. This ring is quite a lovely one. Look at the designs on the side there. It's just absolutely exquisite. The carvings. And it's got this lovely little embellishment. There you can see on top of a beautiful carved emerald. Quite lovely. And this ring is called the Ring of Life. Now, every evening, or at least once per day, most people like to do it in the evening, you can deposit just a little bit of your life energy into this ring. Not enough that it will harm you. That's why most people like to do it, in the evening where they know that they're not going to be in a situation where they may be hurt and may be running low on their life energy. But when you are safe, when you will not be in a battle anytime in the next few hours, you can take a little bit of your life energy and deposit it into this ring, sort of for safekeeping. And then, in the middle of a battle or a particularly dangerous situation where you may be running a little low, where you may be particularly hurt or something like that, and nearing the end of your life, you can access the energy that you have stored in here and restore some of that life energy to yourself. Sort of heal some damage or prevent some damage from continuing to harm you. Quite useful, especially for an adventurer who may find themselves in dangerous, life-threatening situations. This ring could certainly save your life. It might be an interesting choice for you as well, don't you think? I thought so. I thought you might like that one. Now this one. It's a similar design, but a very, very different power to it. This one, you can see it also has that beautiful carving on the side. Absolute exquisite detail there with the small onyx stones in it. And then a larger oval onyx stone with another beautiful embellishment on top there. It's really quite an interesting, striking ring. And this ring is known as the Black Cloak. Now, when you wear this ring and activate its power, this ring will cloak you in a dark aura, making you seem more intimidating, perhaps more dangerous than you might be. Yes, it's quite good if you're in a situation where you need to intimidate someone into doing something for you, or where perhaps someone may have attacked you, but if you seem as though you are a bit more powerful, maybe they'll think twice. Something like that. It could be quite useful in several different situations. Now, this ring, it's sort of a blessing and a curse, unfortunately. It is very powerful. It could be quite useful, but if you activate this ring, then the next time that you sleep, there is a rather high chance that you will be plagued with nightmares that night. Not get very much rest, so you may not be able to restore as much life energy during that rest. So there is a trade-off to this one. I like to be as upfront about those sorts of things as possible before you make your purchase. I want you to be fully educated about the pros and cons of the rings. Unfortunately, this one does have a con, but it also could be quite powerful and quite useful in the right situation. Again, maybe you might not need that to seem more powerful than you are, to seem somewhat intimidating. But maybe that is something that sounds interesting to you. You never know. Or perhaps you may be interested in a ring that could offer you some extra protection in particular situations. This ring, it's a very lovely shape to it. This is another one of those rings that just is quite striking in and of itself. It's almost in the shape of a star or a burst of fire. And this ring will offer you resistance to damage from fire spells or just fire or burning in general, which is quite useful against many different enemies. Now, I do like to just make sure that you understand that this will give you resistance to burn damage. You will not be immune from burn damage. If you get hit with a fire spell, you will still take some damage. It will still hurt, but this will greatly decrease the amount of pain, the amount of damage that you have. I like to be clear about that because it has been rumored that people with these rings before have thought that this was all they needed in protection of, something as horrifying as taking on a dragon. They go in thinking that the dragon won't be able to burn them, and then, yeah, anyway, you can see where that's going. So I do just like to be upfront about it. Certainly no one who has purchased a ring like this from my shop, because I do like to be as transparent and honest about the rings and their effects as possible. But this will greatly decrease the amount of pain, the amount of damage that you take by at least half of any sort of fire spells, like a fireball shot from a wizard or something like that, or from the mouth of a dragon, something like that. So that could be a rather interesting option for you as well. This lovely fire resistance ring. But then, I do have some rings that maybe are not necessarily quite as powerful in battle, but are still very useful just in other ways. Like this one. This is a very interesting one. It's quite lovely in and of itself, just for what it is. You can see it's got all of these beautiful details. And the metal here, all of these little stones. Almost sort of branches and different foliage, and even a little lizard on there. Can you see that? It's almost in the shape of a little lizard. And then at the top here we have a beautiful carved rose. Now this is called the Ring of the Rose. And this ring, you can use it once per day to summon a rose in the palm of your hand. Any color, any stage of blooming, whether it be a little bud or fully in bloom. That in and of itself can be, quite fun, quite, a little party trick. But there are also a few different properties of the rose that you can choose. You can choose whether or not the rose has thorns. You can choose whether or not the scent of the rose is a bit intoxicating to anyone else besides you. And perhaps, if you play your card right, could increase your ability to charm someone. Or you could choose if the petals of the rose, when ground up, would develop into a poison that could, potentially harm an enemy of yours, or perhaps, protect you from an enemy or something like that. So there's definitely a lot of possibilities with this one, in different ways. Again, it really just depends on what sort of situations you might find yourself in, how you might find use for this item. And then I do also have another one. This one is incredibly striking. Even if it did nothing, it would still be quite lovely and quite valuable on its own. So it has these beautiful opal stones around the center there. It's in the shape of a lily. Those lovely little blue stones and some white diamonds in there. And then the silver here you can see carved into little leaves almost. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely ring. And this is known as a perfume ring. So, you can use this ring to emit any sort of scent that you may want. And anyone within about 5 feet or so of you will smell this smell very, very strongly. Now, you could use this to entice someone. You could also use it to repel someone if you use sort of a negative, unfortunate smell. Things like that. And no one will know where it's coming from unless you announce it. But you could use this to create any smell at all. Perhaps just an unpleasant smell, or perhaps a smell that actually, makes someone think that something dangerous is around, and so they avoid a certain area. Anything like that. And it will be centered on the ring here. Or like I said, you could use it in a positive way too, to make yourself smell very enticing, very interesting, very perfumed. Quite a few different applications of this power, although sometimes it does take your creativity to see how you may need an item like that. And like I said, sometimes even just having such a beautiful, striking looking ring is enough to cause people to sit up and pay attention to you. So that may be a very, very interesting choice for you as well. Now, I do also have a few rings. I don't show these rings to everyone because, 1, they are very expensive. 2, I keep them separate from my other rings that I have on display because these rings don't exactly play well with others. And 3, because if they fell into the wrong hands, they could be quite dangerous. But seeing as you are a hero from the Guild of Heroes, those are people that, have proven themselves to be of good heart, of good character, of a chivalrous, selfless nature. And so I don't think that this would be something that would be, that you would abuse. But it could be something that is very, very useful, perhaps. Let me see, I need to sort of... Here we are. This one. It's quite striking. It's in the shape of a skull, you can see. No gemstones on this one, but the shape of the silver there is enough that I don't think you need gemstones to make a statement. This is the Ring of the Necromancer. Once per day, you can use this ring to summon a skeleton warrior to fight for you. The skeleton will not be able to talk or converse in any sort of normal ways, but it will follow your commands and be loyal to you. Now you can use the skeleton to fight for you if you're in a battle and you seem to be outnumbered, or you could use it as a distraction, to fight something while you get away. Or you could use it to protect something, or maybe even just to scare off an enemy. An animated skeleton is not something that you see every day, so even other magic users may hesitate to attack you if you have a skeleton defending you. Now, the skeleton will not be incredibly strong. They won't be able to use magic or something like that, but they will be a warrior, so they will be able to, sort of decently fight and defend you as well. And the skeleton will remain with you until either it is cut down or destroyed by an enemy, or unless you dismiss it. Or at the end of the day, it will just disappear. Like I said, you can use it once per day. So that is a very interesting idea there. That could very much come in handy. Especially because, because the skeleton is already dead. You don't necessarily need to worry about bringing it into dangerous situations because, well, it's just there to serve you, and it's not actually someone with a life and with, a family to get back to or something like that. So it could be quite a useful companion in dangerous situations, in unpredictable places, as to have someone else, sort of by your side. Not necessarily good for conversation, but good for protection. So, that is not a ring that I show just anyone, but seeing as you are a hero from the Guild of Heroes, they value chivalry and, honest, trustworthy hearts above almost anything there. So, I figured that would be an alright one to share with you. So, that is a very good sampling of the enchanted rings that I have to offer. Now, was there any one in particular that sort of spoke to you? Now, like I said, you're, of course, welcome to purchase more than one, but this voucher that you brought in means that you could choose any of those rings that I showed you, free of charge. So, which ring will it be? Okay, that's a very interesting choice. No, it is perfect. Perfect for you. I think that will be an excellent choice. And hopefully will lend itself to many useful situations. Excellent choice. Now, are there any other rings that you would like to purchase for the day? I'm certainly, willing to speak of prices as well. Like I said, buying enchanted rings is, it can be quite expensive, but a brave adventurer like yourself, perhaps you have some diamonds to burn. Not today. All right. Well, at least now you know what I have. Perhaps if you have a quest coming up, in the future where you think that any of these rings might be useful in that situation, you're always welcome to come back. I do also, for the right people, for some collateral, I do lend out the rings as well. Now, of course, should anything happen to you or the ring, then, we would have to discuss payment of that. That's why I collect collateral. But if there are rings that you may wish to, rent to own temporarily for a certain quest, but you maybe can't afford to just buy it outright, you come back. Well, we can certainly chat about that as well, okay? Okay. Well, I think that you made an excellent choice today. Thank you ever so much for coming in to Dazzle and Shine. I hope that you enjoy your ring and that you have quite a lot of use for it. I think that you will. It's a wonderful choice. Wonderful choice. Well, if there's anything else that I can help you with. Not today. All right. Well, it was lovely meeting you. Lovely having such a prestigious hero in my little shop today. And like I said, if you ever are in need of another enchanted ring, you know where to find me. All right. Have a lovely day.